Oop, our device is not connected.
All right, check, check.
Let's see here. Yeah, baby unplugged something when I wasn't paying attention. All right, cool. You guys can. All right, hold on. What the heck is that? I can still see that thing. I'm trying to figure out what that. All right, that's working now. Let's see. All right, do a quick sound check. See if you guys can hear me now. What now? Let's see if you guys can hear me. All right, that's working now. Let's see. All right, do a quick sound check. See if you guys can hear me now. All right. Yeah, look down in the. It was completely unplugged from the computer. He was here with me a lot today. All right. Let me get one last thing kind of moving here. I'm obviously running behind tonight. I was looking for another cough drop. Let's see here. Trying to get this going. Yeah, it's pretty light. That could actually be my voice. It should be okay from there. Let me know if you can hear it. Hold on. I said whenever the microphone comes on, unfortunately, it gets reset. So, okay, that's coming through okay for me now on my test one. So let me know if you can't hear that one. You guys have much more of a delay than I do right now. All right, I'm not gonna touch it then. Sounds like it's working. All right, um, so back to the start. So yes, running behind today. Obviously, the lacrosse tournament has me completely all over the place. Just trying to save my voice as much as possible, but we'll see how long it actually lasts today. Um, I need to grab another cough drop with it because it's not there, but we'll see how far we can go. That's all we can do. Um, can't blame it all on the microphone, unfortunately. But it was a good tournament. Besides being a monsoon and pouring rain for literally from the time we got there at 7 o'clock in the morning till we left at like 3, it literally downpoured the entire time. Boys played good. First game, they looked absolutely horrible. They were literally running around with chickens with their head cuts off. We got our butts kicked 10-1. But I mean, the other team was absolutely amazing. But it was, one of those things. It's like, man, we got a lot of work to do. My one assistant coach was like, all walking up, pacing all over the place. He's like, this is ridiculous. I'm not out here babysitting. But the next 2 games, we blew 2 teams out in a row. So I was kind of like, once they got the groove, and again, first time we've ever played together. Um, you know, this is a new team. I brought like 6, 7 kids in, and then they did great. We won 10-1 and then 9-0, and we blew out a team that ended up going to the playoffs with the same record because of this weird pool system. But the kids, they kept their heads high the entire day. I told them to leave it all on the field because I leave it all on the sideline, and now my voice is going to pay for the next day. So it is what it is. But yeah, so fun weekend. Obviously, definitely exhausted, so we will do everything we can. As we're looking across the top here, guys, at Forex Factor, you can see really the only thing that has any bit of movement was the pound dollar and the pound yen. And a lot of that too, I wouldn't be surprised if it was because of this line right here. You know, the Boris Johnson finally gets to put his Brexit, deal to a vote. We'll see. I don't know. Um, like I said, even if they sign something until they officially, leave and it's acknowledged by everybody, I don't think it's over. I think we will still be pushing the limit down to the 31st. I don't see anything, they can kind of, craft any deal that they want. I just don't see a lot, happening there. So the other thing too, I guess the Canada vote is a very tight election. Um, what I saw earlier, again, my wife's Canadian, so we were just looking at it right now. I guess it'll BC, where she's from, the last reporter is at 10. So when we end is when the last one will be getting in. I guess the Liberals were taking the East, but not by as much as they did before. And even if everything else is the same, that means that Trudeau would lose majority, um, which could make things a little interesting. I don't know. Um, Reason I say I'm not sure about that one is because if Trudeau doesn't have it, needs a coalition government up there, that could lead, a specific, I'm not, he would be the president that is not going to be mentioned because, I don't want to go on the list of, potential Twitter, quality, posts here. But again, in his negotiating strategies in the past, if one party is, if he feels that he can stick it to that one party because they've lost power, I wouldn't put it past him. Okay, so wouldn't necessarily be surprised if if there's weakening up there if he tries to push the Canadian trade deal more. That's all I'm saying. If it comes tomorrow, you can be like, you were right. So we'll see. What's happening. So what do I got here? Yeah, Ernest had a few tornadoes. Yeah, three left quite a bit. People. Yeah, everybody kind of reported back that I know from you guys from the area. So I was gonna send a message out to see, but it seemed like everybody was talking from the Texas Dallas area. Um, so I think everybody came out there okay. Um, all right. So with that being said, everything else is flat. I basically, mentioned that earlier today. I expected it to be flat. I think I mentioned it last week as well. That this week was extremely anemic as far as news releases go. You guys can see the only thing today was the Canadian election, and it was really basically like a dead day. Tomorrow we have core retail sales tomorrow morning, and again, a lot of that will also be the backlash of the election. Um, Put it this way: if the election is still kind of up in turmoil, there's any drama, or it's super close, or it's a coalition government, and that core retail sales number is bad, I guarantee Trump will be tweeting something. We also have a tentative Brexit vote tomorrow. That a lot of eyes are going to be that, and they say it's tentative, but it looks like as of right now, he's going to get that Brexit vote. Um, if you guys remember back early February when there was Brexit votes like every other day for May, not that the deal that they're putting up right now is really much different than May's, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, if it gets shot down, expect some crazy movement. I'd definitely be cautious tomorrow and keep my eye on any news before I traded. Keep stop losses tight, especially in anything related with the pound. And that's it. I mean, we have the 10:30 business, outlook survey, but I think most of it will really be kind of talking about the election. I think it'll be more than the business outlook than anything else. Going into Wednesday, we have crude oil. That's it. Nothing. Crude oil. Thursday is a day though of the releases, and all of it's European news. You guys can see it's the flash PMI for France, Germany. One thing I am personally definitely interested in is hearing this. This monetary or this main refinance rate obviously not changing, but hearing the monetary policy statement released at 7:45. But then also this ECP press conference. And the reason why is because typically, obviously, the monetary policy statement is a pre-planned, kind of a pre-written kind of release. The press conference a lot of times is where you can get a question, and the question is where all of a sudden I wasn't fully prepared for that, and this is how I'm answering it, and they may actually give away a little bit more than what was in the monetary policy statement. So that's where the surprises can typically come, and that's also packaged in there with core durable goods. Okay, so that may be the only hope. And again, core durable goods may be news enough for basically the U.S. indices for the day. And then Friday, nothing. We're back down to nothing again. So this week is a very anemic week as far as news goes. Not a lot, like I said. Early week is election. End of week is ECB. Brexit is sandwiched somewhere in here. We'll see where it pops out. All right. Jumping into the scanner, if you guys look at the bottom here. So scanner, pretty much most things are kind of sideways confirmed. They're kind of staying in a very, very narrow kind of range right now. Again, if you guys look here, I mean, we have -4, 21, 10, 54.
CAD was actually one of the nice movers. I know Ernest, you got on that. Aussie 19, Euro pound minus 40 again. It's pound strength, kind of continuing to move through. Again, continue to push through that top that we've talked about. Hasn't kind of hit anything yet. So, again, looking at all the majors, sideways up confirmed in a few different pairs. And again, sideways up confirmed, we're basically looking for some type of a pullback. It's been showing dollar weakness. Really no catalyst today for any dollar strength to really step into it. So not really surprised there. Dollar Swiss also kind of pointing to the downside. It's saying it's a downturn setup, but I mean, if you look at it, it's changed 9 in 24 hours. So I wouldn't really quite say there's a great trading opportunity there. Looking at the European pairs, again, European pairs are going to be dominated by Brexit news, obviously, because it's such a big deal. You guys can see there, it's actually resetting itself just now. Euro Aussie Euro CAD, uptrend with an anchor break to the downside, showing that there is Euro weakness here. Okay, we have sideways up confirmed. Again, looking for kind of that red candle to come in. Sideways up on the euro, meaning that we are not above the anchor. Okay, meaning it's not quite as high. Meaning obviously it's slowing down. Um, and then obviously euro pound is sideways down confirmed. That's that pound weakness we've seen across the board. Now looking at the pound basket is a little bit different. This is still kind of sideways up. Two confirmed, two just kind of trending. And again, dollar pound is up 55. It's not quite as high as it was on its pullback. So again, we're still looking for that. Um, Pound Aussie downtrend setup, meaning obviously it's now pulling back, but it hasn't gone past the anchor yet. So that's interesting. And again, I think a lot of that has to actually do with gold at this point. People are getting, talking about uncertainty and just not sure what it's going to do. And people will tend to jump and give Aussie some strength over there, linked over to gold. And then Pound New Zealand, I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot fall right now. It's just going to be way too volatile. That thing will literally just go absolutely crazy. All right. The scanner's not showing. What are you talking about? This gigantic thing at the bottom? All right, Ernest has been hitting the mason jar. You guys can all see the scanner at the bottom, right? Thanks. Ernest is trying to mess with me, I think, is what it is. He can tell that I'm not at 100% today. See? I feel like I'm going to start getting messages from people like, right, yep, his pip chips are blocking it. I was just going to say, somebody's going to make a comment about his pip chips are too high, and we're going to have to start taking his pip chips away. Yeah, that's what I got from the whole thing is that you couldn't see over your stack of chips over there. All right. Again, Aussie, you're seeing strength more or less across the board. The only one is Aussie New Zealand heading to the downside. Not super worried about that one. But everything sideways up confirmed, meaning it is definitely pushing higher. Again, a lot of that I think is also, again, that's more of a gold story than is anything else. It's not like the Australian market is on fire right now. Okay. Um, Lastly, looking at the Canadian pairs. Canadian pairs are going to be interesting, like I said, until the election shakes out. Elections are big deals. It can change monetary policy and planning and all kinds of other stuff. So, again, it's something that we got to keep in the forefront. We got to think about it right now, especially on a technical basis. But at the same time, look what the U.S. election did when Trump was elected. I mean, it was crazy. It was all over the place. Um, you guys made that post about how much money was made. Just think about how much money was made just that evening. There is a certain individual, not Trump, but a certain individual that is in his circle of friends, kind of, that left his election party early to go place money in the stock market, and then made like $1 billion that morning. Um, yeah, so it's not like it's anything new. I mean, the election wasn't even finalized until much later, and certain individuals were out there purchasing things. So it's not. It's just it's more coincidence than anything else. All right. But again, so I'm not going to really spend much on the CAD basket, right? No, it wasn't Paul Tudor Jones this time. No, he wasn't the one that left early and made $1 billion that morning. I'm sure. I said there were multiple people that did it, but there's one really big name that people were like, huh. And actually, I can't. He was at. I guess he was at Trump's party, but they're not considered like people wouldn't consider them like, hey, those guys are buddies. Um, yeah. Yep. All right, so that's what we're kind of looking at right now. Scanner did have some good opportunities earlier today. I don't know if you guys were looking at it on the lower time frames. Like I said, this is the one I used for chart school because it's more set up for overnights. You can definitely do it. There was some smaller trades today, tiny things, but really nothing that. I mean, besides the CAD trade, there really wasn't much that really rang out. All right. So let's dive over and look into charts. Okay. We're gonna start off with Aussie yen. So Aussie yen was something that we've been marking off last week with that gap, and we literally bounced off that gap to the downside. And you can see it moved 3 to 1. We can see where we would have gotten out of the trade. Wasn't a bad little kind of risk reward ratio trade. And then we just kind of stayed there the whole rest of the week. And we ended up here. And again, it really wasn't trending. So, yes, there was a little bit of a gap. It actually did fill the gap and then continue to push down again. But it really didn't have a whole lot of room to run. I mean, we'd already seen the buyers in this area. So that's kind of your Sunday night. I mean, I can make it a little bit bigger because it's going to move. But you can see there was your Sunday night play on this pair. Nothing really super crazy. And like I said, it really wasn't the end of Friday, it really wasn't cruising, right? So there wasn't too much there. And then we burst through when we were kind of looking for any type of white space, right? Our momentum breakout to the top side. And we got it, right? I mean, you got it in here, right? Well, let me extend this first. Here, I'll put this across. Okay, there's the top end of it. I'll change it to blue so it's not the same. White space, it definitely left the area, right? There's your triangle space. It hit and is now advancing up. So little tiny bit of a trade in this one. Again, it is moving in the right direction. Your risk on this one also would have been very small. You were looking at what? About 15 pips risk. I need to do it the other way. Hold on. Oops. Right there so we can actually see it. So you're talking about 13 pips risk, right? And at this point, we are up about 28. So a little bit over 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio right now in the position. Definitely have your stop loss at break even. You wouldn't be messing with this one anymore. Um, where is it? There you go. Okay, that would be off your momentum breakout. All right. Besides this, again, for me, this is not one that I have a huge target on. The reason why is because if you look to the left, you guys can see this is really the takeoff point right above where we are right now, where we have this huge extended range candle to the downside. So, again, just be a bit cautious in there. Watch this one. Okay. Again, level of basing, big drop to the downside. So, zones in there are a little bit funky as well. But like I said, this was a little bit of a momentum breakout to the top side, something smaller. Again, 13 pips risk. You're over 2 to 1. Stop loss, lock in at least 10. I mean, don't have it. Definitely get paid off this one, right? And we'll see if we can get up to our 3 to 1 risk to reward ratio. Okay, which would be here. Okay, so you guys can see we're 3/4 of the way through it. Looking at Aussie New Zealand. Now on the scanner, Aussie New Zealand was giving us down confirmed, and again, you can see that that's exactly what we have right now. Here was the anchor. We did push lower. We actually have 2 days down below in there. We're getting back close to the buying area, and this is something that we talked about last week about being smack in the middle. It needs to decide on a direction. It has decided on that direction, and it is pushing towards this lower area, this lower basing here. Okay, you'll see that this is 106.83. Now, where we are right now, sideways down confirmed, and the next candle that's going to paint, the next color that it is going to paint is going to be a green. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day, but eventually a green candle is going to paint, and that will change it to a downtrend setup. So the important thing we need to worry about here is in a downtrend setup situation right now, where can it potentially move to? And unfortunately, it's getting close to a demand zone. Okay, so it's kind of one of those things that it's moving, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, but it's getting a bit too far. Okay, the trade setup was here. Okay, this is where the ideal trade was right here. Okay, I'll change that to the red. So again, we're looking for kind of the next one, right? But on this green pullback, that is where, again, there's your 4 hour zone. That's where the ideal pullback was in this downtrend. And again, the target would have still been this down. So we've kind of missed it already. It's already gone through that cycle one time. At this point, I'd be willing to say, let's just wait till it gets down to this lower area before we get back into it again. Okay, but there was your actual trade in this green candle, right? Again, we weren't quite in that phase yet, but what did it do? It pulled back onto a 4 hour zone, a big drop, a sideways, a drop again, and then came the retest. So that actually occurred on Friday, and then again, early this morning, we were back up in the same area. Okay. Um, Looking at the lower time frame, you guys can see we've been up in this area, quite a few times, right? Bounce, bounce, bounce here again. This was Sunday night, Monday at 3 a.m., Monday at 11 a.m., and then we've collapsed all the way down. Okay. Um, Is that daily considered a drop-based drop? Yeah. I mean, it does go down, it does go sideways, and does go down, yeah. But you have to look at it in a little bit different way too. You have to look at it. There's actually two zones in here. Okay, here's a single wick against the wall, right? And just so you guys don't think that we're like shorting things from here. Okay, there's one, and then here's three wicks. There's actually two separate zones in there if you're actually going to break it down. All right, there's two separate zones that you're looking for if you really wanted to get specific about it. But again, it's your upper time frame, so I don't really care, right? It doesn't matter that it's a drop-based drop on the upper time frame, unless I'm using that as my analysis frame, right? For my trend frame, I don't care. I mean, technically, for my trend frame, I don't even care about the wicks. Remember, the wicks don't matter at all here. All I care about is the bodies. If this was the middle one, then yeah, we could have that discussion, but otherwise, no. All right. Boom. All right. But again, that was the trade setup here. All right. Let's dive into the next one here. Aussie dollar. All right. So Aussie dollar. We talked about this before. So we had this discussion last week about how we had one zone here. I'd love these wicks going to the downside, and you can see that's kind of where we ended. Okay. I was excited to end here on Friday. Unfortunately, we gapped in the opposite direction, which I was kind of like, not what I was looking for, right? I was looking for a gap above, and then I would have used it as a takeoff point, but it kind of went in the other direction. Wasn't bad, but it was still inside of the zone. Okay, had the gap been down here below the actual zone, then I would have been able to use the zone to and again to the downside. But it only moved a very very tiny bit, and it kind of filled like instantaneously, and it was like, it just really wasn't enough to be able to kind of get a reversal on this one. So it's now pushed higher, okay, and it did get sucked back in and kind of come back out again. So, this area has basically been cleared, has not given us, this is, I wouldn't really say that this is, I mean, if I kind of stretch it out, I can say, yeah, but not a very big set of white space in here, right? You can see it really didn't clear much at all, especially in the 4 hour. So two things that I'm looking for. One is this level up here, this kind of tan area. This is where a lot of these wicks, where it started to get pushed, and there was lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. But right above that is where the nice little sell area is. So at right now, I'm going to wait. It's got, we're at 66.82, and that zone is up at 68.95. So we got about 15, 20 pips before we really get into this zone. And again, that was based off of this level of basing over here on the daily. So for me, I'm going to wait until we can get up to there and then look to short. I'm not necessarily going to take a momentum breakout out of this one. If we can get a momentum breakout of up here, then yes, I'll take it. But otherwise, I'd be looking for potentially putting something on up here if we get to this zone. And again, the risk isn't huge on this one, but I'd be looking to take a short, probably back into this area. We'll see where the kind of the start of this was. If it just continues to push up, potential first target here, second target probably down here, at the bottom of this area. Sitting over here at 68.38, somewhere down in there. Okay. Pretty kind of clunky and ugly. And again, with 5 days straight up, I'm looking for some type of pullback that I haven't gotten yet on it. All right. Don't love this one as much. This is probably only a B-rated trade. Looking at Pound Aussie. Pound Aussie, I wouldn't touch right now. It's literally sitting on a cliff up there. Not a huge fan of this one right now, just because again, price popped up, put a lot of lows in there, definitely formed some simple high at the top. Right. You see, it actually did come up and grab this descending wick. Right. This happened on Thursday. And then it's just based. Okay, it's just really going sideways. You can see it's kind of gone back and forth, but it's consolidated back in again, forming a bit of a flag right now. Areas to the downside that again, I'm wary of is one here, and then again, the dotted lines at the bottom. Okay, 185.92 would be the first area, which is what? Quite a bit here, right? We're talking about 296 pips to the downside, and you guys can see that's not even as big as this green candle. So if the Brexit if the deal or possible Parliament deal gets signed off on, it could shoot down there that fast. Okay, so again, that's why I'm saying, again, I'm all about safety first, and Smokey the Bear says this one could burn some accounts if you're on the wrong side of it when it goes. So just be cautious of this one. I'd wait a day to kind of see, all right, are we out of the craziness period or not? Okay. And again, the reason why is you guys can see, this green candle right here. Here, I'll draw a box and we'll mirror it, right? there's the, this purple box mirrors this blue one. You can see that's not even as far as that, right? Not even as far as that. And that's what it can do in one day. And that candle is, you guys can see it, 324 pips. Okay. Now, obviously the per pip is less. It's $6.88. But the problem with that is that could literally gap from here all the way down with something like Brexit. Okay. You don't want to be on the wrong side of 324 or 300 and whatever number of pips. Okay. So that way I'm just being a bit cautious of this one. Now, Euro pound is probably where we're going to spend most of our time looking at this Brexit. As you guys can see, again, it's pushing lower, lower, and lower, and lower. Again, it finally broke free of that area, and then it's really kind of stabilized and based, right? It's nice to say, oh, well, it's down from where it was. Like, yeah, I mean, it's down from where it was, but is it at the low yet? No, it's not. Okay, it is definitely forming a base. This could be the pullback and drive lower. Okay, people seem to like what's going on. People seem to be happy. Again, on the daily, you can kind of see that yes, it is pushing lower, but it's not at its low yet. And it's definitely pulled back a bit. You can see over here, it has pulled back from its low. And again, you can see it. This is a 10-minute chart. That's why it looks a little funky for you guys. There, you can kind of see it a little bit better there, right? Okay. So not at her lows, definitely pulled back to an area basing. It was an ugly set of basing. Again, it was super early morning. Um, Brexit's going to launch this thing one way or the other. Um, yeah, it's a retirement candle. Yeah, retirement is in a good way or a bad way. One of the two. Yeah. Um, Again, are we in a great zone right now? No, but it's continuing to push lower. Looking at the 4 hour. And the problem is, even on this right now, I really don't even want to mess with a 4 hour because I don't even know if a 4 hour is going to hold this for Brexit. Like I said, down here is the start of the original move. Okay, back down in the 85 level. You guys can see how close we are to that as far as the target goes. Drop into a lower level. Is there a clean level to take things off of? Not really, right? I mean, here was like your gap and everything. It gapped up, went back into this level of basing, but it's not a clean level. It's not. It's nothing that's really easy to say. Yep, there it is. So I don't know. I mean, I'm still bearish on this one, but I don't have an entry that I could give you guys that I'm saying, hey, it's clean. And I think it's going to be fast. If he gets approval suddenly, it's going to drop down and at least hit off this area. Uh, I think that's going to be as far as it can go. I don't think it's going to go below 85. And even going top side, I mean, these huge wicks here, I mean, it's two, so it's not as important, but they are tiered at the top, so there are kind of sellers above it. But I would say this wick is just like unbelievable. There's a clean, easy one that we can see. But this wick is just like, I don't just have no interest in dealing with taking 100 pip risks on this. Okay. Now, if it does spike to this area and we start getting kind of confirmations that it's turning, again, this is a NIDX-based pair. You could trade this in NIDX. Okay. Again, that would be this level to take it out of the money. But I will give you this caveat though. Is Brexit a fundamental change? Yes. Okay. So, should we expect a parabolic retracement of this one? Probably not. Okay, because Brexit is a fundamental change. It is not just a news release when the world is continuing to move on off a data set. Okay, Brexit is not one of those things that they can. There's not a revision that can happen next month to Brexit because the number was wrong. They're not going to be like, "Whoops, just kidding, not leaving." It doesn't work like that. It is a large fundamental change. Okay. Would you be more focused on looking at 4 hour trends at 30 minutes as opposed to daily 4 hour with less structured news catalyst for price action? Um, no, no. Actually, when it's really, really flat, I tend to go to even smaller time frames, not large ones. Like I said, I mean, there was one in the dollar yen today where it was like 3 or 4. It was like 4 pip risk. It was very tiny, and I was only looking to get like 12 out of it. I was only looking to go 3 to 1. But with that being said, think of it this way. Is there a difference between a trade that we have 30 pip risk in versus a trade that we have 4 pip risk in? No. I mean, the trade setup is the same. What's the difference between those two? What's the difference between a 30 pip stop loss, a 15 pip stop loss, and a 5 pip stop loss as far as a trade? What's the one thing that makes those three things different? Sorry, I'm feeding the birds at the same time. Come on, Ryan. What's the difference? The size? Size of what? Entry? No. Nope. Not the amount of risk you put on. Risk is exactly the same. Size of the position. Yep. Vanessa got it right. No, Vanessa's. She's the only one that was correct in there. No, I mean obviously the time frame is different, but here's the thing: if I only have 5 pip risk, right, and I normally take 15 pip risk, it's 1/3, which means my position size, because again, I'm risking the same percentage on every single trade. The only difference is my position size would be 3 times bigger. So I had the exact same risk in a trade, but instead of having to move 30 pips to hit my 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio, right, or 45 pips, I'm only having to move 12. Okay, each pip is worth more because the position size is bigger. Ryan, I do want you on the higher ones because you overmanage everything. But what I'm saying is that wasn't your original question. Your original question is, should we be doing this? And I was saying, no, I tend to go to the smaller ones, right, and look for time. Like I said, I have a daily goal that I focus on, right? So for me, I'll go to smaller ones and just scalp some things to go ahead and hit my goal for the day. But again, I can sit there and look at it. I don't have the same time constraints that you have, if that makes sense. But again, if the market's not moving today and you're on large time frames, it's still not going to move. You can try to set up swing positions, but it may not move enough for you to get there, right? I mean, think about it. I mean, like if you're in looking at your daily and 4 hour and it's only moved 4 pips, have you probably got an entry? The answer is no, right? But I mean, obviously there's some green in here, so it did go up, it did go back down again. Was there movement in that one? Yeah, there was some movement, right? I mean, like dollar yens moved 21, right? There were small trades. It was going down for a while and then it turned and flipped back up. So at the end of the day, it didn't really do much. Less time in the market, less chance of things blowing up. Yeah, I mean that's one way to think about it. Sure. Yeah, I mean that's like big man. Yeah, that's why I'm not a. Like I said, there are different ways to look at this. You could have large positions, short time in the market, short things long. I mean, it's just your personal trading style. I mean, like Rob will place. I talked to Rob the other day, and we're playing catch up because I hadn't talked to him for a little bit. Rob's trading like 4 times a month now, maybe. He's just he's looking for bigger positions, and if he gets triggered, great. He doesn't look at it for 4 or 5 days. You know, I don't like doing that. I mean, like I said, you can be in there, but in 4 or 5 days, especially with what we have going on right now, I mean, a lot can move. Last week in 10 days, we had like what 900 pips movement in one of the pairs. So, if you're positive, that's great. But again, it's a lot of capital to kind of store in there if you don't necessarily need to. Everybody's risk profile and tolerance levels are completely different. That's why, well, it's one of the reasons why. You know, it's always great like when you see people and they talk about how much money they made this week, but you have to take it in context. How big was their account? Like here's a great trade. Oh my God, I made this much money. It's like, yeah, but how big is your account and how large was the position and how much risk was actually on there? And did you add more into the trade? Like, did you originally come off and plan it that way? Like, like Jack's had some really, really big trades. Like one of his trades, that original one where he was talking about 70,000, it wasn't planned for 70,000. He ended up adding more in as kind of a long shot, and it just continued to go into his thing. And they added more. It's like, yep, I'm going to add more in there because it's so cheap and I'm so far in profit. And it just kept snowballing on itself. It wasn't originally planned that way, So it's always great when someone says, "Oh, I made 8,000." An example is like somebody puts on an options position, right? Oh my God, I made 30 grand on this trade. Well, great. Was that your original plan to make 30 grand, or did it run much beyond what the expectations and what statistics told you it was going to run? And like, oh yeah, yeah, it ran. It had the biggest drop it ever did. Okay, well then that wasn't really your trade planning. That was you getting lucky. There's a difference between the two, you know? Yeah, Rob can be a psycho sometimes. I must smack Rob the first time he lost 14 grand. He ended up making like 60 on the whole trade, but in one night he lost like 14 or 17 grand. He's like, yeah, I forgot to move my stop loss. I mean, he was super positive on the trade, right? So I mean, he was like, he dropped from like 70 grand to like 50 grand, and I was like, what are you doing? You just lost the car, Rob. He's like, I forgot to move my stop loss. I mean, it went back up again, so I didn't have to kill him for it. But yeah, it happens. But yeah, so just understand. I don't really care about. I mean, like I said, everybody's world is different. For one of you guys out there, $100 a day may be life changing to you. For somebody else, it may be 500. For somebody else, maybe you need $5,000 a day. It doesn't really matter. That's your world. You live in the world that you want. You just have a right account. Now, if you make 10 pips and you made your 5 grand on say your 50 pips for somebody is $50 a day, right? Because they're trading minis and that changes their life. Good for them. Another person, maybe they with that same exact 50 pips, they made $5,000. The trade is no different. The person with more money is not a better trader than the other person. They just have a larger account size. So too many people focus on these big dollar figures and say, "Oh, that's it." Great, who cares? Look at the losses of the people with the bigger accounts. That's what really matters, when you see percentage wise. So focus on the percentage. Don't focus on the actual dollar amounts. So that's where people get lost. A lot of people don't understand that whole thing where, you only have 4 pip risk. How are you making any money on that? Simple. My position size is big. Like, use a position sizer. They're all over the place. Very, very simple. Okay. All right. Enough of the soapboxing today. I'll have no voice by the end. All right. Let's go over to euro yen. All right, your yen. Okay, same thing. This thing is pull. It's only had one pullback. It pulled up. It's inside of a basing area. So I am definitely bearish this pair. Looking at it, hasn't really been a ton of entries. In fact, in all this drama over here, there's only been like one or two kind of confirmation entries, but it's literally kind of confirmed right into an area of buyers. So I mean, what do we got here? I mean, nothing, right? Nothing to the downside. I don't really see anything. This is the interesting one. You see the pound strengthening, but then you see this, but this is more or less a story on this is basically U.S. weakness. That's why this one is going the way that it did. I wouldn't say the European Union is any stronger than it was before, right? Um, I mean, like, what's changing the euro? Nothing. There's a lot of hope that the pound will leave, but how does that actually strengthen the euro whatsoever? It's not like the pound is anything great, right? So this is basically, I think this is more of a yen story than anything else. Okay. Um, we'll see. Okay. Um, so more bearish this pair, but I don't really have any setups that I love right now on it. Like I said, this is a base that was formed with a lot of candles over about 2 weeks. You can see it spiked once into it and is really just kind of slowly ground sideways. Um, I'd be happier if this was, ideally, I mean, until we get up into what 122.86, about 150 pips from here. I'm not really super married to this pair, until we get up into this range. I'd have to tighten it up on the smaller time frames, but that's the first place that I'm really. This is just kind of just clean. It's already hit here twice. This is actually the fourth. This is number 3. So this is our 4th time pushing through the top. Okay, a little bit of basing here, a little bit here, and it's that wick over that kind of area right there. Those are basically the 2 areas I'm looking to get short. Not until we get to those. Amazing. It's minus. Friday we ended right here. We opened up Sunday. Again, was it a gap? Yeah. Is it in the direction of the trend so we could jump in? No. It was in the opposite? Yeah. It came up and filled immediately and then kind of based again. So it did go back down to the start of the move. Okay. It did pop above. So it's kind of like one of those like take it short, not take it short. Unfortunately, again, something like Brexit for this one is kind of the same thing. You know, was it giving us a really great signal for a pullback? No, not really. This is not a bad little zone. But if we look above, where can price go from here? Well, let's look across. And what do you have in here? A lot of lower highs in here, right? A lot of wicks, right? A lot of attempts to go higher, and then it got slammed back down again, up and then down, up, down, up, down. So a lot of slamming back down again. If I had to draw the actual zone, probably this is what we're looking at as far as, it's over something along those lines. Okay. That's the first real clean area. Like I said, not a bad area. Okay, there was a bit of a gap in this one. So again, it was kind of filling its gap. It came back. And again, we've popped above that, but I wouldn't say that this is trending right now. Okay, not trending at all. Okay, it has made a higher high, but has also made a lower low. Okay, so it's kind of expanding a little bit out. Yeah, size does matter.
James, it's funny that you're the one that says size matters because you were also the single one in here. Someone would say it's not the size of the mason jar. All right, so this pair obviously bearish. It's at the top of the range, looking for an entry. It's to the downside if I could. All right. You're Rossi. How many of you guys are going to visit James in December? And and I had this question, James. Ernest recommended Texas de Brazil, right? For the steakhouse, right? But is that safe? Like, is Ernest going to be critiquing their food? That's what I'm worried about now. Like, is he going to be like, my steak is better? Like I'm just curious. You guys are on so much of a delay. It's so funny. I'm like two thoughts down the road, and then you guys are reacting to it. I don't know why you guys are like the delay is so bad tonight. But yeah, like I'm curious. Like, is the guy gonna come over and is Ernest gonna be like, no, I don't want a slice of that one. I want a slice of that one. That one's cooked right. These Brazilian guys are gonna be like, what is your problem? I'm gonna, I like steak. I'm gonna be there with like Instagram, be like, you see his steak? Don't mess with my boy. You give him the piece of steak he wants. All right. So, only thing I'm looking at this one is again prices rallying back down again. There was a little bit of setup in here. You guys can see the green candle, right? You guys can see something similar. I mean, it grabbed the basing level, it kind of pushed down. Very similar to what we saw in the Aussie dollar. It is pushing lower. It's getting to the point where we're getting into the demand zone again range. See what we're looking at where price is right now. I look to the left. At higher highs, I'm sorry, higher lows, and again, that's the range we're kind of dealing with. So we'll see if we get any type of bounces back and forth. But the big level is right below it. Again, this is the profit target. This was the first candle in the spike up. That level is at 161.68. So you're talking about 50 pips from where we are right now to the downside. Again, if there's a Brexit signing, again, 50 pips is absolutely nothing in a pair like this. It could definitely move that, as well as we'll see what it's able to do. Okay, I mean, if it decides that it wants to do 2 or 3 days of this, or we get a little bit of a pop and it starts to bounce back again, going into Thursday, this may be an interesting pair to look at. Again, with German PMI and French PMI and the monetary policy statement, this may be an interesting place. Okay, if we can get into this range by Thursday and kind of stay here for Thursday, that could be a very interesting long setup. Okay, now this is not an HIDX-based pair. This is something you're gonna have to take in spot currency. So understand the risk may be a little bit high, but that's kind of what I'm hoping for right now. Is we end up somewhere close to 161.70, right? Or 161, 161.68, somewhere in kind of this range in here. On Thursday for that news release is what I'm looking for. Um, Yep, he'll just be surrounded. Sounds like you've seen me there before. Hopefully they got a sweet bread. Vic, you don't go to those places to eat the butter and the bread. That's what they want you to do. Already before. I'm trying to see if I can swing it or not. 100% sure yet. I'm gonna try to swing it. Like I said, if you guys did it in Austin, then I could kind of swing by my sister's, but it's a little bit far to like go out, hang out, and drive back. So, but yeah, I'm sure more people will kind of be confirmed to go down there. But yeah, Vic, you're not allowed. If you go there, you can't eat the bread. That's what they want. They want you to eat the bread and the corn and the salad bar, not the delicate meats, right? With big chunks of salt on there, so you drink more beer. Wealth builders in. Yeah, if like I said, if we can get the whole group together, it'd definitely be worth going. And like I said, as we get a little tiny bit closer, like I said, we're only October right now. Um, Again, Dallas is a Southwest site that I can fly to very cheaply, so it's not a bad place. Maybe we can figure out how to work in some type of education into it to where we like do a day of education and then you know obviously nighttime social event. um if we had a little bit more planning, maybe I could bribe Jack to come down for the day, but I don't know if we're able to do that one. I'm coming. Hockey? I don't know. Unless it's like lacrosse these days, like I'm not. All right, so enough about social stuff. Let's jump over the pound yen. Dallas Stars. I'm gonna have to look that up real quick because this chart's loading. Yeah, it's hockey. I have to reverse AT&T Stadium. Heck, a little bit more planning. I could potentially bribe Jack. I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing. So I could potentially. I'm gonna say I could potentially bribe Jack. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but Jack turned 30 yesterday or 2 days ago, or something like that. If you guys follow him on Instagram, you see the cake that his tombstone, because Jack has been talking about going on this like no drinking kick for I don't know if it was 60 days or 6 months or something like that. But he's like super tempted. He's like, man, I really want to try it, but I don't know if I could do it. So I feel like if I bribed him to come down with like a bar tab, I don't know that that would work if he's like on a dry diet. As well as if he's like on like a cleansing. I don't know if going to a Brazilian steakhouse is going to be cleansing. I don't know that there is a Brazilian steakhouse diet yet. If any of you want to, get claims on that one, I would do it now. By the way, I just had to throw this out there. Cowboys killed the Eagles in the middle of a tornado. Oh, that foosball thing. If there's education involved, I definitely try to make it. But at the moment, it's not in the cards to fly from Michigan to Texas just for good steak. Yeah, ask Jerry to drop by. Yeah, it's called a salad bar. Vanessa, yeah, right? Yeah, that's the healthy part of the Brazilian steakhouse. All right, so guys, looking at, let's see, let's try this one more time to go over the pound yen. Bam, there we go. All right, so pound yen. Okay, you guys remember these two zones that we were talking about last week? We are sitting in there right now. Okay, we've had lots of pound, strength, 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 strength. We're getting into an area though where on the daily we have sellers. Okay, there was a bit here and a bit up top. Actually, I think both those are about off the 4 hour. Yeah, they were more or less 4 hour. Not really 4 hour zones. I think we did it off a daily. Yeah, it was just single wick and then the basing. Okay, so we're in two kind of, they're all right levels, right? We've seen them kind of be respected already. But it's an interesting place, right? So we're waiting for some type of Brexit deal right now. And again, we're sitting in areas of selling. So should we go short? Potentially, but they are 60 pip zones. Okay, so they are quite large. There is no technically economic news release that these are lining up with. Okay, a Brexit vote to BD at some point during the day is not really an actionable item because we don't know when it's going to go in. Okay, now we know it's going to come. Okay, you could potentially take something with Nadex. Let me go and see how big see what the market makers are jacking the Nadex strikes up for. Let's see here. Forex binaries. All right, let me see here. Okay. Jacked them up yet. Here's the thing. So we were going to play this to the downside, assuming that there was going to be some type of a Brexit tomorrow. Ask yourself this, okay? The daily ATR of this pair is we are currently at 160, right? Even down here at the lows, we're at 110. Right now, the 141. Can I stress that anymore? Okay. Right now, we are right here, right? Indicative is at 141. Check this out. Can this thing move 100 pips to the downside? Okay. Sure. Sure.
If the ATR is it's 160, so at this point you have $20 risk on this position. Is that cheaper than the 65 pips inside of this zone that we're sitting in? Yep, absolutely is. Okay. So if this thing goes 100 pips, which again, ATR of 160 to 110, it can move that much. What could you do with your money? Taking $20 risk, grab 50. Okay. So again, this is one of those pairs that not a bad little kind of setup in this one. You could take this one out actually off a little bit higher than that if you wanted. And again, same thing on the top side. Okay. Could we go 100 pips to the top side? Sure. Right. If we're standing right here right now, right? This one's actually, yeah, it's about the same pricing, right? 20 to the top side. Same situation. 20 risk, right? To be able to take this higher. Okay. If he gets this past, could it move? Yeah. So obviously the volatility is not factored into this pair yet. And again, even the same thing. If you wanted to take this to the downside, again, you could take it for 25 risk if you really wanted, and you only need to move 80 pips to the downside. So interesting position right now that we're in. Like I said, this is not a final Brexit vote. It is a Parliament vote. But again, if it clears Parliament, everybody's good, and then this is the deal in, then yeah, there could be some potential in that one, right? And again, it's a much cheaper than even on a mini, right? Even on a mini, you're going to take 60 pips risk to be, encompassing the entire zone. I don't even know if we can shrink it enough. Or maybe too far back. Oh no, we can say it. Maybe not. Let's see. No, I don't think we can go far enough back. Oh, there we go. Yeah, they're not even clear zones. This top one is up in a gap area. That's not bad. This one. So the top one is definitely better. But so there's two potential ways that you guys could play this one, depending on what you're feeling. There's been so much pound strength. Again, if we're going to play this purely based off of, I have to say, the downside I like better, but again, 100 pips is nothing for this pair, right? You can see, right? What's it done in the last 24 hours? 96 pips, right? And is it solved? No. The outlook is anything but clear. Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. in London, right? So 2 p.m. our time. So time, there is time. Okay. And again, Nadex hasn't factored it in yet. All right, so let's jump across, look at pound dollar. My voice is fading. The cover is not helping anymore. Same situation. Where are we? Sitting up in a demand zone. Okay. Now this one again, pretty easy level basing. 4 candles down, 3 candles sideways base, and then 5 candles back out in a nice move to the downside. Okay. So looking across, that's where we are. Again, price has already spiked in here once and pushed back down again, and we've been there again. Kind of came in the same pot, and we're putting kind of lows in. So no big major trigger that's saying, yep, now's the time. It's getting there. But again, same situation, sitting in upper level supply, with a potential short combination to the downside. It is also not factored in Nadex if you guys are looking at that one as well. Okay. So similar kind of setup. Again, this one also has a big range based off the daily. It's also 70 pips, and I'm not taking 70 pip risk on this one. Okay. So again, definitely a better Nadex position, especially if they're not going to factor the volatility. Um, Again, this one did come out of that top selling zone. You guys can see it on the daily here, right? Let me pop this out. The ATR on this one right now it came down. It's only 211 right now. But that's what we have going on. You can see we poked into this top section and we started the base. Similar situation, upper end of the curve on this one. Again, if it's pulling back, I do see some buyers probably down here around the 2. But again, I'm not touching this pair. It's just a bit too volatile for me right now. New Zealand dollar. All right, so New Zealand dollar. Okay, this one we broke through the top of that zone. Okay, we had this little kind of this zone formed here, right? We did break through. Now this one, you can see it here on the 30-minute, right? You can tell that it was pushed all the way. It didn't really give us the space here
But again, what did we get on the lower time frame? You guys can see we were able to get a triangle, right? You were able to build that white space in. Um, Typically, we like to see a little bit more over here, but it really didn't give us the opportunity. It kind of went through, came up, pushed back, and then kind of dropped. And again, you can see it on the 30-minute, 4-hour. It's not, unfortunately, as clear. Okay. Um, Now with this one again, uh, not necessarily the best momentum breakout. We are at the upper end of the curve, right? We're all the way at the top, right? We're back again in the near term. When you look at the highs and the lows, I mean, we could say, oh wait, no, it's all the way over here, but yeah, we're going back a bit farther. The last time the price was up here in the 64.5 range is when it ran into problems and it made multiple attempts and got pushed back down again. It started to go lower and then made another attempt to grab more orders, pushed up and got slammed down again. And then it made one more push. It did get higher, and then boom, it lost all its backing disappeared. There's no buyers left, and sellers had to drop this price all the way back down again. So we are back up into that same type of range of playing. So even though we got the white space, we didn't really get the piece here. It's not really something that I would have recommended on this one to go long. And just because, again, we're messing with such a large area and a well-defined area of sellers stepping in before, running out of buyers. All right, so eh, I don't know. For me, if anything, I'd like to see if we can start getting more of that sideways trend here. We are sideways up confirmed. If it turns red, I'm not necessarily jumping into this one. I'd like to see this one go from a red to a green to a red and really start reestablishing this trend back to the downside. Seeing if we can get price back down into this kind of 62.5 area. Um, I'm kind of on hold on this pair right now. I want to see, like I said, I want to see a trend change, some type of confirmation that we're going to switch to the downside, but it's just not there yet before I touch anything here. Now, dollar Swiss. Uh, All right, so we talked about this last week. We were looking to get the green triangle. We never got the green triangle sideways. You did get a little bit of a pop up today, but really not enough movement. As you can see, large push to the downside, and we're in a bit of a pullback. Okay. Now, this one is a little bit strange because if you look across, right, from this is the anchor. Okay, if you go across here, we end up hitting here, and if we go across here. So we are in a downtrend setup situation, but what are we running into? Where price is right here, you guys can see it did nothing right on Sunday, and then today it's kind of going back up again, but not with a lot of force. Well, look to the left. What did it run into? It ran into this area. Okay. Not only was there a base here, but then we had these ascending candles here, these ascending, wicks. Typically a big telltale sign that we have buyers in there, right? And that's the area that it ran into. The last time it touched here was here. And look where it just happened to be at the same exact spot. Okay, so where this area starts, there are buyers. Now it's reaching up for orders. You can see that it's kind of made the attempt twice and tried to make another push here in this little kind of extended range doji, right? It did come all the way back down to the bottom, and then it tried to push up, and it broke higher to grab some more, and then got pushed back down again. So it's looking for orders desperately to go lower. It's just going to be whether it finds them or not. Okay, so we never got the confirmation entry in this. We never got the space. If I continue this level of basing across, right, you guys can see that's kind of what we're getting into. Like we touched it and immediately pushed back down. So right now, I'd say we are wedged between this lower area on the daily and the 4-hour basing level right here. Again, you can see the wick over wick on here. The bottom side's kind of hard to see, but you can see it a little bit better on this side. So that's the question. Is this going to be enough sellers to drive this down, or have the buyers put enough of a base in this lower area here that we will be able to break through this and start retracing back up into the 99.64 area, this dotted line up top. Okay. This was just an extension of this area. We don't need it anymore. Okay. So that's a big question. Are we going to push up? And again, first target on this one would be here at 99.31. Second one would be up here at 99.64. Okay. Going across the dollar CAD. So let me see what's going on with that. Let's see. 10 o'clock is when the polls are starting. All right. So right now it's 39.5 for the liberals and 30 for the conservatives, and then 15 for the New Democratic Party. So no majority yet. Obviously, the polls just literally closed in BC, so we'll have to see kind of what's in. See how that continues to go. Yeah, everything is. He's gonna have to face a reckoning because the polls are super close. Mm,
Trudeau posts expected Atlantic losses. Um, yeah, so what it looks like is happening right now is it looks like Trudeau will win, but he won't have the majority. That'll be the big question. And if he doesn't have the majority, he said they're going to help. But it's a bit of a weakening position. Again, I wouldn't be necessarily surprised if Trump. See. Um, Again, you guys can see this one again. Just a little kind of piece here. You can see there was a bit of a sideways movement. And again, this is what we talked about last week. This kind of the Harry Potter trade has still continued to move down, right? Now, again, here was the kind of basing level where we gapped. The gap kind of went up, and again, you could have definitely taken the short from where it gapped to. Again, long level of kind of sideways basing in there, and it just continued to push lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. And again, it never broke to level, so it was a trade that you could have definitely stayed short in. Um, from where we started on Sunday, right? I mean, here's Friday right here, and there's Sunday. It's only moved about 60, but not horrible for a day, right? If you think about it, most of that came in from this morning. I mean, here's about 36. So I guess a lot of it occurred actually at about 3 o'clock in the morning today. It really did nothing from last night, and then again from here from 3 a.m. to really about what 3 o'clock today. About that 12-hour time period is where a majority of this movement came from. It popped down as already started the retrace. So not a horrible trade. It's probably like the biggest mover that was at least in a continuation pattern for the day. Um, I would be cautious going too much lower. As you guys can see, we're starting to get over. Um, Here, I'll put this line here. You guys can see that we're starting to get into that. You guys can see where this line is. Okay. And again, that's the last time we got into this single wick against the wall, a little bit of a base and a large pop out of it. So definitely be cautious if you're holding this thing short still, to where if you go much lower. Okay. He needs to wear his Make Canada Great Again hat. Yeah, right. I think the conservatives would have a field day with that one. But on the flip side, so yeah, but what I found interesting about that, as I was talking to my wife about it, I'm like, I was like, as many scandals as that guy's had right now, could you imagine if that was the United States? Like, it's just interesting how things are very much different overseas. Like, I mean, this guy's got people like, I mean, like interning our ministers, like, abusing people and making inappropriate comments, and they're still in the government, and people are just like, yeah, it's no big deal. Like, I don't know, like the whole, like, I guess the most recent one was, I guess, the picture of Trudeau with like the blackface or whatever. Like, could you imagine if there was a picture of Trump with that? I mean, it would be like a field day here, you know. But other countries aren't as sensitive. I guess America is now the most sensitive country in the world. I guess. Like I said, it's just everything bothers us. You know what? He used a salt shaker and he put his forks on the right side of the plate. How dare him? It's like, I don't know. Everybody's mad about everything. But up in Canada, I guess they're just more forgiving. I guess I don't know. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's just, they put the fork on the right side. How dare that guy instead of the left? But yeah, so I don't know. On this one, guys, we'll see. Like I said, I think any results, it doesn't seem like too much is going to change, but we'll figure it out. Like I said, we're getting close to an area where we have buyers going to step in. 130 is one of those levels that's been pretty rock solid in recent years, I'd say. Doesn't go too much lower than that. It is forming some nice levels. I will say that though. I do like this top level here. I do like the pullback here, and I do like the pullback here. This kind of drop sideways and then drop again. So there are three nice levels in here that are forming on the daily. Okay, on the 4 hour, they are taking a little bit more time. You'll see this is a large area here. It's pretty ugly for how many candles it is. But again, the pullback was very nice on the daily. So definitely a big fan of it. I am happy about that. This was a whole lot of junk in here. This is much, much nicer, right? These days, everyone is walking around looking to be fit. Yeah, exactly, Ernest. Everybody, doesn't matter what you're doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's weird. You look at your parents' generation, like, the baby boomers, or my parents' generation anyway. And these guys like took all like the most bad stuff and this and this and this. And nowadays, it's just kind of like, oh my God, you did what? You wore that? It's just, I don't know. Like my kids, like it's like I already see it in my kids. They're already getting like this sense of entitlement. I'm like, what's wrong with, like, we're going camping this weekend, so we're going on a lacrosse camping trip this weekend. on Friday night as like a non-lacrosse activity for like team bonding and everything. And we were discussing food tonight. I was like, yeah, I was like, when I was a kid, we used to have those like tinfoil meals, like for Boy Scouts. You would like make the whole thing up in tinfoil and freeze it so you could like hike out to the campsite and it would still be cool. And then you actually cooked it yourself on the fire. And I was like trying to envision my two kids. One of my kids would be like, "Does McDonald's deliver? Like, can I get a McDonald's burger inside the tinfoil?" It's like I thought that was the greatest thing ever. It's like I got to cook my own food, and you would open the foil and it'd be steaming. You'd be like, "Yeah, this is awesome. Look at this." My kids are gonna be like, "When's the pizza guy? Can I eat Doritos instead of this? I don't want this." You know, is what I feel like what the kids are gonna be like this weekend. Um, you know, all the adults are like super psyched. We're like, "Yeah," but we'll see. All right, going to the last pair of the night. I'm not going to cover the other three; they're just too small right now with the Canadian government and with everything else going on. Um, Yen is more or less kind of sideways. There was a small position I was able to kind of snag out of this one earlier today. Very, very tiny. It was only about 3 pips risk. It was a confirmation entry off of this zone on the 30 minute. Um, I think eventually, let me see. It was only about, I think it was four pips maybe 4.2. Okay. I was looking to take it back down to the start of this move, and it ended up going maybe a couple, maybe two or three more than that. But it was just a very, very tiny position trade, right? Very tiny move. And again, it was a kind of a bounce out of here. I wasn't sure how much movement we were going to get. I knew we were getting high on the curve. We had an area marked off before it hit it, and then I saw down here very, very early. And yes, I was up that early, unfortunately. Again, I saw this failure to go higher, and when it came to here, I was like, we're getting this red, green, red. We got to pull back into an area with a single wick. I was like, I like this. It's small, it's tiny. Again, I was kind of half delirious at the time, and I said, okay, where's the start of this rally up? And the price is right here. Okay, that's all you got, right? If you draw this across, you guys can see where my target level was. Just for again, if this was a 4 hour chart or 30, a 30-minute chart, it would have been like, yeah, that's great. But it's just a small, tiny 5 minute one. So 13 pips is 13 pips. When you put two, again, look at it this way. If you put two standards on this, okay, four standards, right? 4 pips risk, 160 pip risk, right? Because each pip is how much? Bucks, right? Talk about position sizing comes in. And again, inside of the class, guys, I talk about position sizing all the time. So make sure that you are. Uh-oh, people are cheering on Vanessa. What's she doing? My grandkids stay with me. They go back to the time about 40 years. Like I said, I can't wait to see what they say. But yeah, so that was the only little bit today. And again, it really didn't move at all. You guys see, forex fact, about 12 pips movement. I was able to. Wish I wasn't up that early in the morning, but I was. Still hyped up from the cross tournament. All right. Again, overall, bigger picture though, I am definitely again. One thing I'm looking at right now is the fact that this did push high. It pulled back, and it looks like it's already starting to have some problems. It made an attempt, and it's put in lower highs here. Let me breathe. Right, you guys can see across. It bumped and then pushed. Okay, it's gone to the same level. It's got some basing above it as well. So, trying to figure out if this is unable to break on the 4 hour. You're seeing that we're starting to get lower highs in here. This may be turning and flipping. And again, targets for me on this one would probably be back into the 107 range, the start of this move down here. Okay, you guys can see 107 is literally right here where this kind of bump is. So that's a potential target for me is right in here. Okay. Oh, that's not as good. That's not good either. There we go. Right around there. Right about this 107. If we can again, we have the red, we have the green. If the green does not go higher and we start to put a red in, bam, there's your 130 pips to the downside. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking for in this one. If we get a confirmation entry to the bottom. All right. All right, guys. With that being said, it's 10:10. My voice is literally starting to bug me a lot. So I'm gonna go over it and we're going to do pip chips. So right now, let's see. We got James in with two. James is double dipping tonight because he wants to take the victory. Let's see. Ooh, FX Jones just popped a two in there. Ooh, it's gonna be a battle tonight. This week we're definitely gonna do the other one where you have to pick the high or the low. Um,
let's do it this week. Do you guys want to do it for oil again? We'll do if oil is going to be over. We'll do if oil is going to be above or below what the forecast is. Like I said, 5 times in a row it's been above, but can it hold on for one more? So we'll do. I think we should do oil this week because there's really not really a great other kind of news release for it. Uh, I think oil is going to be the best one. So we'll do it. We'll start tomorrow. Oil, okay. So we'll do it this week. We're going to do the other contest instead of doing this giveaway. We're going to do the contest where it's the above or below, and I'll set it up for tomorrow night. And it'll be like this: will oil inventories be above or below whatever the forecasted number comes in at? All right. We'll set that up tomorrow night, and it'll run till the next morning. All right. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and do the giveaway. Okay, I'm going to close this down now, and I'm going to draw the winner. Ooh, ooh, Ernest, she got you. And FX Jones came right at the end, but man, look at that. We have a new winner on the board. Mark this as complete. Thank God Carl's not here, because Carl would have been like, you know what? It was my victory tonight because you drew 2 the other day. But he's not here tonight, so I don't feel as bad. All right, so let's give Vanessa her points for the night. And look at this. She just broke 100, guys. Look at this. Bam, 106. She's starting to come up through the ranks. All right. And there's Ernest with his big chip lead. All right, so with that being said, going into tomorrow's news, basically CAD retail sales, but I think most of the talk tomorrow morning will be based off the election, who's winning, what type of controversy, and then again the business outlook. Okay. Besides that, we are pretty flat for tomorrow. Sooner Scanner won't be able to be seen. Yeah, I know, right? She's on the way. Scanner's on the way out. Chips are getting too big. All right, guys. So I'm gonna bolt. I'll be on Nadex tomorrow morning. If you guys are awake, make sure you join that. Again, you have to only enroll once, and it covers 4 weeks, although we are approaching the end of it. Watch for that Brexit news. If you get any type of, if any of you guys see it and I don't see it, do me a favor, post it in Discord tomorrow. As soon as you guys see anything, again, you'll see it in the charts, but make sure that you post any news or any, if there's any projection about the time when they're actually getting that vote in. But I think it's going to be late tomorrow night. Well, late their time. It'll be 2 o'clock in the afternoon our time. Okay. So I will see you guys then. Take care. Have a good night.